Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. Today we come to you with our review of the brand new home shirt. This is a home shirt that has caused a lot of division on social media, with a lot of people saying it is the worst home shirt in the history of the world. We're going to talk about it. We're going to tell you our thoughts, and we will chat a little about what we think might be the worst home shirt in the world. But before we get into that, let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome back Joseph. Joseph, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thomas, is that how you pronounce your new, lovely, emphasized H name? I got out the chair, by the way. Yeah, I'm in a different chair. But no, I'm good, mate.
What's happening? I don't understand. It's too no, that's going to irk me now that you're not in your chair. I don't know what to do with my life. So to cover my confusion, dHaniel, how are you getting on today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks, Tom. Yeah, all good.
Decent stuff. And we also welcome back Haaron. Haaron, we haven't seen you for what feels like forever. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, mate.
I'm glad to hear it, mate. And it's so lovely to see your wonderful, beautiful face again. So let's jump in then, guys. So let's talk about the brand new home shirt that Dan and Joe are, dHaniel and Joseph are sporting today. I must say, boys, I am liking it. I am liking the new shirt. It's a grower, I think. It's definitely a grower. So let's talk about how the shirt got revealed. So, Joe, yesterday you sent the group chat a picture, I believe, of a Panini card with a certain Neil Maupay wearing this shirt. The immediate reaction from social media was a bit underwhelming, shall we say. People weren't particularly very happy. But when you saw the card, when you saw the picture, what was your initial reaction?
So I was sat, I'll tell you where I was, Tom. I was sat in Wetherspoons after watching the Women's Euros the day before, and we went in there for lunch because we stayed in Brighton. Can I just say the Women's Euros was amazing. So props to them. What an atmosphere. But yeah, I was sat there, and I don't know who leaked it first. The first person I remember putting it on was Ryan. Ryan had set on Seagull Social, and that's when I sent it to you guys. When I first saw it, I was a bit like, oh, okay, what is that? Like, it's different. And that's what we've been calling for. We've been calling for Nike to be different and to try something a bit adventurous. And this is adventurous. And as you say, Tom, it's a grower. It grew on me quite rapidly.
It grew on you so fast, Joe, that you appear to be wearing it.
I'm wearing it. Yeah, but I love it. I really do.
Decent stuff. Dan, what was your initial reaction when you saw that Panini card on our group chat? Because I think from what my memory recalls, you weren't overly impressed.
Yeah, it's this bit. I wasn't. It looks, because connected into the collar, it looks kind of weird. But that's the only thing I sort of really didn't like about it. But as we all said, it's growing. I've seen it properly, and I think it's quite nice, actually. Ignoring this, obviously, but other than that, I do really like it.
For our audio listeners, Dan was pointing to the yellow stripe that goes from the collar down through the middle of the shirt. Yeah, that was a part of contention for a lot of fans, this addition of yellow. We'll come to that in a minute, but we'll just get in Aaron's thoughts. Aaron, saw the home shirt on that Panini card. What did you think when you saw it?
I thought it was quite nice, to be honest. Obviously, Twitter had other ideas. I think, like Joe said, it's something different, which we've been looking for, or what we've been asking for. Sorry. So, yeah, I think it looked okay. My opinions of it did change later on during the day when we saw someone modelling it for the first time. It didn't look particularly great, but then when you actually see the photos of the official photos, it looks a lot better. And obviously, with Joseph and dHaniel having it on now, it looks does look very fresh.
Yeah, good skills. I mean, my initial impression, as as listeners will know, and as you guys will know, I was hoping for a 25-year anniversary shirt from the Goldston. So I was hoping for the red logo, the red badge, sorry, a red American Express branded sponsorship on the front. So I was a little bit disappointed to see that the club didn't perhaps cash in on that sort of nostalgia, I suppose. However, I like this kit. I like the look of it. And so when I saw the Panini card, I was a bit like, oh, that's different. And definitely kind of like coming back to it over time, I was thinking, you know what, that wouldn't be too bad. And as Aaron's alluded to, we then saw the actual proper reveal. So that was done. It was rumored, or someone put on Twitter, that they thought that it could be revealed at the Fatboy Slim concert on Brighton Beach. It would have been a nice way to do it. Joe, do you think that was always the plan, or do you think the early reveal sort of forced their hand a little bit?
I think the closer it got to it, and the fact that the kit wasn't out, I think people just worked it out, obviously. It could have always been the plan, because, you know, he's very heavily involved with the club, and obviously supports the club as well. It's a nice way to do it. I remember a few years back, the Royal Blood drummer wearing the first away shirt at the Premier League on tour, and everyone was like, "Oh, what is this?" So that was a bit of a PR move from the club. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was always planned, and it was a great way to do it, because yeah, he looked like he was absolutely loving life on stage in that shirt for the first time.
Most definitely. And, you know, Norman Cook, aka Fatboy Slim, you know, he's been heavily involved with the club for years. Obviously, Skin Records were our longest serving sponsor. And they really stepped in when times were tough. So, Dan, when you saw Norman Cook, aka Fatboy Slim, donning that shirt for the first time, what were your initial reactions to seeing Norman wearing that?
So I first noticed it obviously when the club posted the three of the shirts together. I thought, oh, the back looks quite nice. But yeah, I love how we're getting these sort of people to get involved in our kit launches, because, you know, when you see someone like that wear it, especially to a concert or something like that, it's good for the club, obviously, for people to see it up in the flesh, because obviously those people all saw it for the first time properly. Obviously, we all saw it if we went to the shop today or during the weekend. But yeah, it was great to see it. To say with Ben from Raw Blood do it with our away shirt, which was also very funny, because I think that got leaked as well beforehand as well. So I think it was the day before they actually released it officially before that everyone was like going, "He's already worn it." So it's like, yeah, it's all good.
So, Aaron, you said about like when you saw it on Norman Cook, that you felt a bit like, oh, was there any particular reason for that? That it looked better on, say, Lewis Dunk than it did on our Norman?
I think it was probably the lighting of the photo. I think it looked a bit dark. It didn't look, when I saw it, and my instant reaction was, oh. I was like, oh dear. And it was, obviously, first impressions are always key, but when you see it actually on people and actually in a better light, it looks nice. I like it. It was just an instant sort of thing where, you know, the photo looked a bit dark. Yeah, it was just probably me being a bit silly, but that was just me how I thought of it. But like I said, it looks a lot better on the gents, and yeah, it looks good.
So the reaction from the Twitterverse, it was not overly positive. I know Twitter is often a vacuum where opinions are often echoed in that lovely echo chamber. But just a quick look around on like North Stand chat and on Facebook as well, a lot of people weren't very happy with this shirt, Joe, and some went as far to call it as the worst home shirt that the club have ever had. Do you agree that this shirt is the worst? And if it's not the worst, what is the worst?
No, it's not the worst, not at all. As I said before, I absolutely love it. The one to your, I don't know if that's your right or your left. Yep. So that one you're pointing at, that's the worst home shirt that we've had. the only reason I'd get it is to, as you do, Tom, to complete a collection. But other than that, I wouldn't go near it. But yeah, as you say, the world of Twitter's been a bit mad. Some people, Val the Pigeon, going as far as comparing it to a frigging terrorist attack, which is the worst thing I've seen from the Brighton Hove Albion Twitter community, by the way. We have a literal charity game that plays due to that attack. People died. Saying it's a joke does not make it any less offensive to those people who have been affected by it. And there is no doubt in my mind that people have seen that have been affected by it. So many people that will know Robert Eaton. Like, I don't know if you know the guy, but he arranges the Brighton team all the time. Brett Mendoza, I think his name is. I've no doubt he would have seen that. And that is just so disrespectful. And as I say, dubbing it as "it's just a joke, get off your high horse" is what I saw them reply to someone. No. Get off of Twitter, because you don't belong on here to have a say in our community that is most of the time, yeah, it's quite crap and toxic, but never go that far. As we said before we start recording, there is a line. You cross the line, and that is disgraceful, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Definitely. I just can't imagine what would cross your mind to think that that was an appropriate thing to say. Yeah, it's just, it baffles me. Obviously, humor, much like fashion, when we talk about shirts, is subjective. You know, people are going to like it. We all seem to like the shirt. A lot of people won't like it. And you know what? That's fine. And we've all, before we started recording, we all said, yeah, no, we've got pretty dark sense of humor. I think being British, you do. I mean, British comedy is full of, you know, dark senses of humor. But I don't think that was anywhere near an appropriate sort of thing to say. If you don't like the shirt, that's fine. I don't particularly like this shirt. I didn't particularly like this shirt when they released it. And me and Aaron, we had a bit of banter. But there's a line, you know, there's just a line. And to quote friends, you know, you're so far beyond the line is nothing to you. It's but a dot. So if I was that person, I would perhaps I'd consider deleting that tweet, because it's just not acceptable. As I say, Dan, the whole thing,
deleting their account and just never saying anything again, because that, yeah.
Dan, as we say, things are subjective. Joe mentioned that this shirt to my left, the 97-98 shirt, that was famously modelled by Lenny Henry, who's from Dudley, which is about 10 minutes away from me, and Katie Price, of all people. Joe thinks that this is the worst home shirt ever. Do you agree with Joe? Or is there a particular home shirt that you think deserves that title?
See, before I've never seen that until recently I've seen that, and it doesn't really scream Brighton to me at all. So I would say that's probably one of the worst ones. But say Lenny Henry would have been all right. So why did they call Katie Price to do it? Just lower the standards down a little bit more of it. Blimey.
I don't think back then Katie Price was like as deep into that rabbit hole of shade.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh, she's still a better person than she is now. Then
it's just I just don't. Well, in regards to this show, I never understood Lenny Henry doing it, because he's from Dudley. You know, he lives. You know, he grew up 10 minutes away from. I'm sat now in the Black Country. Having him model a Brighton shirt is just, I don't know. It's just a bit mad. But yeah, for what it's worth, I mean, you said it, Joe. I'm a shirt collector. I own every single home shirt that has been worn since 1989. So of course I'm gonna buy this monstrosity. Even though I look at it and I think, I mean, a rubbish shirt for rubbish football in a rubbish place called Gillingham. It just kind of fits in very nicely. Aaron, just for your own 2 cents, what is your opinion? What is the worst home shirt that Brighton have ever worn?
To be fair, the one over your right shoulder, I'm not particularly a fan of. I never have been. I don't know why. There's no real reason for it. It just doesn't. From having, because that was our first kit at the Amex, was it not?
No, this was the shirt under Oscar Garcia.
Oh, that's the one.
And the reason I put it up behind me, Aaron, is because I too don't particularly like this shirt.
Yeah. No, because that to me, for some reason, this just doesn't look right, and I can't really figure out why. Still to this day, there's way too much white on there.
Yeah,
way too much white, not enough blue. And from having so used to having just blue and white stripes, nice and simple, to then having that was just a bit of a big change. I don't think I actually got that kit either because I didn't like it that much. I'd never actually brought it. Not that I can think of anyway.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, like, Joe, you mentioned on Twitter about how people, probably won't buy this shirt because they don't like it. Do you think that's a bit of a cutting off your nose to spite your face, or is it a case of people just being frugal with their money? What do you think? People just overreacting?
I think it's an overreaction to start with, and then as soon as they see more people wearing it, it'll become a fashion statement, if you like, because football essentially is becoming a fashion statement anyway, and that they will just buy the shirt. One I just wanted to give a shout out to as probably one of the worst home shirts we've worn is our first Nike shirt. That was a complete mess. The one with the panel on the front, the iron-on panel, and it had a black Nike tick. That was a monstrosity. That was horrific. And then because we had that for 2 seasons, and then the season after that, our promotion shirt, I don't actually particularly like that one either. It's just the fact that we got promoted in it that it holds a very special place in my heart. But if we had had a mediocre season, that probably would have been up there as well.
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, we've in our previous podcast when we reviewed the away shirt, we talked about Nike, Dan, didn't we? And we're just talking about these Nike shirts. I mean, the one that Joe just mentioned, our first Nike one. I like the idea of it because I'm always a fan of more blue than white, but it wasn't executed well. And then Joe mentioned the season after that wasn't particularly great. Our first season in the Premier League was okay, and then we had the not a great one, and then we had the lovely. The one after that, the kind of like the faded blue lines, that was quite nice. But overall, Dan, I think the Nike shirts have been very hit and miss. I know we've spoken about this at length, but if this is to be Nike's last year with us, will you make a sigh of relief that we can finally get rid of some of these very poor shirts?
I think it's time for a change. I think with people maybe saying that they're not quite liking the shirts anymore, and they're sort of just going off templates or whatever, and different people have different tastes and all that. I think it might be good to have a change to someone else. As I've said, I do like the idea of Adidas maybe to do some more of nostalgia would be quite nice. Obviously, Hummel, I've said continuously because I think their ones are quite nice, even though sizing really isn't great on that with them either. I did have a thought the other day, and I was like, Umbro don't do quite some nice shirts. Maybe someone thought of that, but yeah, I think a lot of people might be happy with just a little bit of a change. But yeah, I don't mind any of the 3. Mostly Hummel, because I think Hummel will do a lot more of original designs more than templates.
Yeah, that's very true, and I think what Nike have been criticised by, or for, shall I say, by Brighton fans, is that it's just a template kit. Now, I don't know, boys. Is this a template? Because I must admit, I haven't really. Oh, you're nodding at me. So, what other teams do you know that wear this?
Barcelona, most notably. If you look at theirs has got the same sort of arch along here. It's just theirs is more filled with stripes than ours. So I've seen a lot of people saying that if we had pretty much the same stripes as Barcelona, but blue and white, then it would have been a much nicer shirt. But as I said, I said before, as I said yesterday as well, when it was released officially, I love that we've tried something different with the stripes. A lot of people, obviously, like we've memed in our names, are pointing out the massive H, which Dan made me very aware of when we bought it home earlier for when we went into Brighton. But yeah, as I say, I like the adventure.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, we criticise the club for, why aren't you releasing the shirt? Why aren't you releasing the shirt? Why is it always a Nike template that's really boring? Blah, 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 blah. And then the club finally do release it and everyone's up in arms about it. And I think there was even a petition started. I think that was more
by Val the Pigeon.
Oh, well, there you go. She's 2 for 2. So, I mean, I'm all for like getting rid of Nike. I've made my thoughts on Nike very clear in some recent podcasts. I'm more than happy to do it, but starting a petition is just, again, I think it's just such an overreaction. We've mentioned, you know, it's completely subjective, and if you don't like the home shirt, that's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that. You know, don't buy it. That's cool. I remember when we released the pinstripe shirt, I remember everyone was up in arms about the collar, and everyone was talking about how they hated it. But for me, that was my favorite shirt since the Brighton and Hove job shirt, the pinstripe one. I absolutely loved it. So, you know, it is completely subjective. Aaron, I'm just going to ask you, if you had to pick one Nike shirt that was probably your favorite since our time with Nike, what would you go for?
Probably the Hyper Turk kit from last year. I think that for me is probably one of my favourite away kits for a long time. Well, I say third away kit. Yeah, really fresh. I love the colour. It was just something different. It was just something different, and I really liked it. Regarding the home shirt, difficult one. I actually, like you said, Tom, the pinstripe one I actually quite liked. It was very, very different to what we're used to, but I actually thought we looked very, very nice in it. I think it suited. Don't know why, it just seemed to suit us that year. I'm not the collar and the pinstriped, and yeah, for me that's probably one the two home and away kits that I would say Nike have done well on. But like at the end of the day, it's not. I don't really particularly mind who makes a kit or who we got on the kit, as long as it's, you know, as long as we're playing well and we're still, you know, putting in performances. At the end of the day, people are going on losing their absolute minds on Twitter, and it's, you know, get a grip of yourself, Christ's sake. At the end of the day, it's just a kit. It's literally just a kit. As long as they're playing for the badge on that kit, not fussed in the slightest.
Perfectly put, Aaron. I don't think much more needs to be said, really. It is, at the end of the day, just a shirt. So keep it in context, guys. If you don't like it, by all means, that's absolutely fine. If you do like it, grand, fantastic, go out and buy it. But remember, it's just a shirt. We've had our say. Drop us a comment below. Tell us what you think. But again, guys, keep it in context. We don't want to hear this is the worst thing that's ever happened to the world since some terrible event, because that's just not true. It is not comparable to terrible things that have happened in the world, because it's just a piece of cloth, albeit a piece of cloth with the badge of the club that we love so much. But what I will say, guys, is be kind to one another, keep it in context, and if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all, as my old man would say.
Tom, just before we sign off, if you are going to the pop-up shop with the Amex voucher after the shirt exchange that you did way back when they did it, like a month ago, don't go to the pop-up shop in Churchill Square, go to Falmer, as I found out the hard way today. And me and Dan had to trudge along to the stadium. Luckily, not too far away. So, yeah, as I say, just make sure you plan your journey and go to the Amex, not the pop-up shop.
Very good words of wisdom there, Joe. Don't go to the pop-up shop if you have a voucher. We also
Go on, Tom.
Need to say a huge congratulations, because our giveaway was drawn this morning. Joe sent out, and congratulations to Haley, who has won our away shirt giveaway. We'll be sending that out to you very, very soon. Massive congratulations to you, Haley.
It's already gone. It's already ordered. Ordered, sent.
Well, there you go.
Not
Look
delivered yet. Email confirmation. All done. Absolute
scenes. So keep your eyes peeled, guys, because you never know. The Albion Obsessed crew are very charitable people. Charitable? Generous. There we go. That's a much better word. We're very generous people, and we like doing giveaways. We haven't done one for a while, but I'm sure we'll do one again very soon. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content if you haven't already. Hopefully, we'll be at you with our Reading review in the coming days. Now, Joe, you were going to go to the game, but you're not feeling well, so you're not going anymore. Is that right?
That is correct, Tom. Yeah, little one isn't feeling very well either, so I think it's best I stay at home and help wifey with that as well. Went to the doctors today. Thankfully, okay, just a bit under the weather. But yeah, I'm feeling a bit crap. I think I might have caught something at the Euros or something, but we move. It's fine.
Definitely. I hope you feel better soon, all of you, Joe. How about you, Dan? Are you going to the Reading game?
Unfortunately, not. No. It's a bit far for me, really, to try and get there.
That's fair enough. So we'll have to hope and see that that Reading versus Brighton. Is it on the stream? Does anyone know? Are we streaming it live? No. Oh, that's a shame. We could have seen, and they wouldn't have been able to see the new home kit anyway, because it would have been a kit clash. I don't know. Anyway, that's it from Albion Obsessed. We hope to see you next time. Don't forget, drop us a comment in the comment section below and let us know what you think of the new shirt. We'll see you next time. Take care.